Respect before recognition is the principle that defines the true value of words and the depth of human connection. Recognition alone may feel pleasant in the moment, but if it is not rooted in respect, it soon loses meaning. Words can flatter, they can impress, they can decorate a conversation with charm, but they will always ring hollow when the foundation of respect is missing. Respect is not about approval or agreement. It is about acknowledging the worth of another person, their dignity, their journey, and their individuality. Without this foundation, recognition turns into manipulation, and compliments become currency instead of genuine affirmation. When people seek recognition, what they are truly longing for is to be respected first. A person who hears praise without respect feels as though the words are transactional, as though they are meant to achieve something rather than acknowledge something. On the other hand, when respect precedes recognition, the compliment lands with a deeper weight. It carries credibility. It affirms not just an action or an outcome, but the person's very essence. Respect says, "I see you." Recognition without it only says, "I need something from you." This principle shows up in every area of life, whether in leadership, in personal relationships, or in professional environments. A leader who gives recognition without genuine respect is seen as insincere. Their words may temporarily lift morale, but people eventually sense the emptiness. A leader who respects their people first, however, builds trust. When recognition comes from them, it is not doubted, it is not questioned, it is received as truth. Respect before recognition makes the difference between a compliment that is forgotten and a compliment that is remembered for years. The same is true in close connections. When someone offers recognition without having demonstrated respect, it feels superficial, it may even feel manipulative. But when respect is present, recognition becomes an amplifier of trust. Respect validates effort, character, resilience, and choices. Recognition then becomes not just an observation, but a confirmation of value. It affirms that someone matters just as much as what they do. Respect before recognition also reflects integrity. It is easy to say flattering things to gain approval, but integrity demands that words align with genuine belief. When recognition is given without respect, it is an act of performance. When respect comes first, recognition is an act of truth. This is why the same words spoken by different people can carry entirely different weight. The difference lies in whether the speaker truly respects the person they are recognizing. At its core, respect is silent recognition. It is shown in listening, in attention, in consistency, in valuing someone's time and effort. It is demonstrated long before any words are spoken. And when recognition finally arrives, it rests on that bedrock. Without respect, recognition is like a flower placed in sand. It may look bright for a moment, but it will not last. With respect, recognition is like a seed planted in rich soil. It grows, it takes root, and it continues to bear meaning long after the moment has passed. Respect before recognition is not just a principle for communication, but a guide for living. It reminds us that the order matters. It is not enough to notice achievements without acknowledging the person behind them. It is not enough to celebrate outcomes without respecting the process that led there. True recognition flows naturally out of respect, and that is why it never feels forced. It lands, it resonates, and it strengthens the bond between people. It becomes more than praise, it becomes affirmation of noticing the unnoticed is the art of seeing what most people overlook, and it is often the most powerful form of recognition a person can receive. The world is filled with gestures, efforts, sacrifices, and quiet demonstrations of strength that go unseen, not because they are unimportant, but because they are subtle. These unnoticed details are not accompanied by fanfare or self-promotion. They are not announced loudly to the world. Yet they carry the weight of authenticity, and when someone chooses to acknowledge them, it creates an impact far greater than the most extravagant form of shallow praise. What most people crave is not applause for the obvious, but acknowledgement for the things that require awareness to notice. Anyone can compliment an achievement once it has been rewarded or celebrated by others, but it takes attentiveness and respect to recognize the steps taken in silence. It is easy to say well done when the trophy is on the table, but it is far more meaningful to notice the discipline it took to practice in the dark when no one was watching. True recognition comes from seeing beyond the surface and valuing the hidden details that made the outcome possible. Growth is one of the most overlooked areas of human effort. Too often, people wait until someone has mastered a skill or transformed completely before they acknowledge progress. Yet the small, imperfect steps of improvement are what matter most. Noticing those steps tells someone that their effort is seen, that their persistence has value even before results become obvious. Saying, "I see how much you've improved," or "I can tell you're working hard on this," can fuel motivation in a way that generic praise never could. It is in these moments of recognizing growth that people feel deeply understood and respected. Resilience is another quality that often goes unnoticed. Many carry burdens quietly, fighting battles no one else fully understands. They do not broadcast their struggles, yet they continue to show up, to endure, and to move forward. When someone recognizes that resilience, it becomes a powerful affirmation. A simple statement such as, "I admire how you keep going despite everything," acknowledges not just action, but the unseen strength behind it. This kind of recognition is not shallow. It is not about what meets the eye, but about perceiving the invisible weight carried with grace. The reason unnoticed details matter so much is that they are tied to identity. When you notice effort, growth, or resilience, you are not just admiring an outcome, you are respecting the person behind the outcome. Shallow praise focuses on what is obvious, like appearance, popularity, or quick wins. But noticing the unnoticed reveals depth. It proves that you were paying attention, that you valued more than just the surface, and that you cared enough to look closer. This principle applies in leadership, relationships, and every area of human interaction. A leader who only recognizes results creates a culture where people feel disposable, valued only for output. But a leader who notices the unnoticed, late nights of preparation, small acts of teamwork, creative problem solving, builds loyalty. People do not stay where they are simply recognized for what everyone can see. They stay where they are valued for what few people take the time to notice. Noticing the unnoticed requires presence. It demands slowing down, observing, and listening beyond words. It requires stepping into another person's perspective and imagining the effort behind their actions. When practiced consistently, it transforms recognition from a formality into a form of respect. It shifts words from being generic to being personal. And that is why it carries such power. Shallow praise is easily forgotten, but recognition of what others overlook is etched deeply into memory. It tells someone they are truly seen. Strength and vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood yet transformative qualities a person can possess. The world often equates strength with toughness, dominance, or the ability to stand firm without faltering. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is wrongly perceived as weakness, as if opening up or revealing one's struggles diminishes worth. But the truth is, real strength often shows itself most clearly in moments of vulnerability. To remain open, to face fear, to admit uncertainty, and to keep moving forward despite wounds or setbacks is a profound display of courage that touches deeper than surface-level admiration ever could. When someone allows their vulnerability to be seen, they are not showcasing failure. They are demonstrating resilience. It is far easier to wear a mask to hide behind perfection or to pretend that challenges do not exist. But to stand honestly in the middle of difficulty and still choose to be present reveals a kind of strength that cannot be faked. This is why acknowledging someone's inner strength in the context of vulnerability carries so much power. It affirms that strength is not about being untouched by struggle, but about rising through it. The admiration that comes from vulnerability resonates differently. Compliments about appearance, achievements, or possessions might provide temporary satisfaction, but they remain on the surface. When someone recognizes the strength it took to endure heartbreak, loss, failure, or doubt, the words reach a deeper level of the soul. They communicate not just appreciation, but understanding. They say, "I see not only your victories, but the battles you fought to earn them." That type of recognition carries weight because it validates the hidden parts of a journey that most people never acknowledge. Vulnerability also builds connection. People are not inspired by invincibility, they are inspired by humanity. Leaders who admit mistakes, who speak about lessons learned through failure, earn trust because they remind others that imperfection does not disqualify worth. Friends who share their struggles create safe spaces for honesty. Partners who reveal their fears and doubts create intimacy that cannot exist in the presence of walls. By acknowledging strength and vulnerability, you reinforce the truth that being human is not something to be hidden, but something to be honored. Resilience is most meaningful when it has been tested. A person who stands tall after storms has proven strength not through theory, but through experience. Recognizing this kind of strength requires sensitivity and awareness. It requires noticing the subtle signs of endurance. The way someone continues to show up, the way they choose kindness despite pain, the way they rebuild themselves after being broken. Complementing these qualities is more than encouragement. It is a declaration that the unseen layers of their journey matter. This principle carries profound implications in every context. In leadership, acknowledging vulnerability creates cultures where authenticity is valued over perfection. It encourages people to take risks, to innovate, and to be honest about challenges without fear of judgment. In personal relationships, recognizing the strength and vulnerability builds trust and depth. It reassures someone that their openness is not a liability but a gift, and that their willingness to share struggle is an act of courage rather than weakness. Strength and vulnerability also reframes how we view our own journeys. When we begin to see vulnerability as an act of strength, we stop hiding from it. We stop equating struggle with failure. Instead, we recognize that every time we allow ourselves to be seen in our rawest state, we create opportunities for connection, empathy, and growth. Acknowledging this strength in others becomes easier once we first learn to honor it in ourselves. Surface-level admiration fades because it is attached to conditions. It depends on external markers that change over time. But recognition of strength and vulnerability lasts because it acknowledges something deeper, an inner quality that cannot be taken away. When someone hears that their resilience is respected, that their openness is valued, that their willingness to keep going despite pain is seen as strength, it becomes a lasting affirmation. It tells them that their humanity, in all its rawness, is not only acceptable but extraordinary. Do you want me to move on with a character outlast charm in the same expanded keynote style? Character outlasts charm because charm, while attractive, is fleeting. It can captivate attention, create a favorable first impression, and even win temporary admiration, but it rarely sustains lasting trust. Charm appeals to the surface, often relying on charisma, presentation, or the ability to say the right thing at the right time. Character, on the other hand, is revealed in consistency. It shows itself not in the spotlight, but in the quiet choices made when no one is watching. Compliments about character traits such as kindness, patience, honesty, or wisdom reach deeper because they affirm qualities that endure long after charm fades. When recognition is given based on appearance or superficial appeal, it provides only a temporary sense of value. The problem with surface-level admiration is that it fluctuates. It depends on trends, moods, or circumstances. Charm may open doors, but it is character that keeps them open. Compliments that focus on who someone is rather than what they look like or how they present themselves build confidence on a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. To be told you are beautiful may brighten a moment, but to be told you are kind can sustain a lifetime. Kindness is one of the most powerful character traits to recognize. It is easy to overlook because it often comes in small, quiet gestures, holding space for others, offering patience, choosing understanding over judgment. Complimenting kindness is more than praise. It validates the decision to act with compassion in a world that often rewards selfishness. When someone hears that their kindness is seen and valued, they are reminded that their inner qualities matter more than external charm ever could. Patience is another quality that deserves recognition, but is rarely acknowledged. Patience requires self-control, empathy, and perspective. It shows up in how someone responds to frustration, how they handle setbacks, or how they allow others the time and space to grow. Complimenting patience affirms an often invisible strength because patience rarely calls attention to itself. Yet it is one of the most stabilizing forces in relationships, leadership, and personal growth. To recognize it is to tell someone that their steady presence makes a difference. Wisdom, too, outlasts charm. Charm entertains, but wisdom guides. Complimenting wisdom validates the thoughtfulness behind decisions, the ability to see beyond the immediate, and the courage to offer truth even when it is not popular. When someone is told that their perspective brings clarity or that their insight has helped others, it goes beyond flattery. It acknowledges a quality built through experience, reflection, and integrity. Wisdom is not loud, but its influence is lasting. Recognizing it assures someone that their voice holds weight, not just in the moment, but in shaping futures. Compliments about character also build trust because they are grounded in authenticity. Appearance may change, charm may fade, but character qualities deepen with time. By recognizing character, you show that you value substance over show. This creates security. It communicates that worth is not conditional on temporary traits, but anchored in something permanent. Trust is not built by praising what is fleeting, it is built by affirming what endures. In leadership, this principle is especially powerful. Teams may admire a leader's charisma, but they will only follow loyalty when they trust that leader's character. In personal connections, charm might spark attraction, but it is character that builds stability. Compliments that highlight character encourage people to invest in what truly lasts. They remind individuals that being authentic is more important than being impressive, and that living with integrity carries far greater value than putting on a flawless image. Character outlasts charm because it withstands time and trials. It is not dependent on mood, fashion, or circumstance. To compliment character is to see beyond the obvious and affirm the qualities that define a person's true worth. These words not only strengthen confidence, but also reinforce values that matter most. Charm may draw admiration in a moment, but character sustains respect across a lifetime. The desire to be understood is one of the deepest longings of human existence. To be seen is important, but to be understood goes beyond visibility. Being seen means someone notices your presence, your actions, or your achievements. Being understood, however, means someone has taken the time to listen, to interpret, and to connect with the emotions, intentions, and meaning behind those actions. It affirms that you are not just visible, but valued in your entirety. More than applause, more than acknowledgement, people crave the comfort of knowing that someone truly gets them. A compliment that communicates understanding is profoundly powerful because it validates identity. It does not simply point out what is obvious like appearance or accomplishments, but reflects back the essence of who a person is. Saying you are hardworking acknowledges effort, but saying I admire how you never give up even when no one else notices shows understanding. The second compliment proves attentiveness, empathy, and recognition of an inner truth. This type of acknowledgement tells someone that their unique way of being in the world has been witnessed and honored. Surface-level compliments are easy to give because they require little observation. Anyone can comment on how someone looks or on a visible achievement, but understanding requires effort. It requires noticing the subtle choices, the quiet sacrifices, the habits that reveal character, the motivations behind behavior. When you compliment based on understanding, you are essentially saying, I see the layers of you that most overlook, and I respect them. This touches deeper than generic praise ever could. The desire to be understood is closely tied to belonging. People feel safe with those who make the effort to understand them. This is true in friendships, relationships, leadership, and even casual interactions. A leader who understands the challenges their team faces earns loyalty. A friend who understands unspoken emotions builds trust. A partner who understands unvoiced fears creates intimacy. The compliment that proves understanding serves as reassurance that someone is not alone in their experience. It bridges the gap between isolation and connection. Understanding is also powerful because it validates complexity. Human beings are not simple. They are made of contradictions, fears, hopes, and layers of history that shape who they are. Shallow recognition overlooks this complexity, but true understanding honors it. A person may appear confident while silently battling self-doubt. A compliment that only praises confidence may miss the truth. But a compliment that recognizes the courage it takes to show up despite doubt affirms the full picture. It acknowledges both the struggle and the strength, and in doing so, it resonates on a much deeper level. This principle is vital in leadership. Employees do not only want to be acknowledged for the work they produce, they want to be understood as individuals with unique strengths, challenges, and aspirations. A leader who offers compliments rooted in understanding creates motivation that cannot be manufactured with generic recognition. It shows that they value the person, not just the performance. In relationships, this principle builds emotional security. To be told I understand why this matters to you is often more impactful than any expression of admiration, because it speaks directly to the core of identity. The desire to be understood is timeless and universal. It transcends culture, language, and background. From childhood to adulthood, people yearn for validation that reaches beyond what can be seen. Compliments that demonstrate understanding do not just boost confidence, they create connection. They remind individuals that their inner world is not invisible, that their feelings, intentions, and struggles have been recognized. This is why such compliments are remembered long after others fade. To be understood is to be known. To be known is to feel valued. Compliments that carry understanding meet the deepest human craving, the assurance that who we are, in all our complexity, is not only seen but accepted and respected. Do you want me to now expand authenticity as rare currency in the same 600-word keynote style so you have the complete set? Authenticity is rare currency because in a world filled with noise, performance, and hidden agendas, sincerity is uncommon. Words are used every day to persuade, impress, or manipulate, and people have grown cautious about taking them at face value. A compliment that is given with expectation attached feels transactional. It is less about honoring someone and more about securing a return. That is why authentic words stand out so powerfully. A sincere compliment free of agenda carries a purity that people immediately recognize. It does not attempt to control or flatter for gain. It simply acknowledges truth. That kind of recognition resonates because it is rare. Authenticity has weight because it is rooted in alignment. When someone speaks authentically, their words match their intentions and their tone matches their heart. Authentic compliments are not exaggerated or rehearsed. They are precise, honest, and often simple. Yet in their simplicity, they ignite confidence. Pretense may provide temporary pleasure, but it leaves behind uncertainty because deep down, people can sense insincerity. Authenticity, by contrast, builds assurance. It tells the receiver, you are genuinely valued, not for what I want from you, but for who you are. The scarcity of authenticity makes it valuable. People are accustomed to hearing flattery that serves a purpose. In professional settings, compliments may be used to gain favor. In personal interactions, they may be used to smooth over conflict or to achieve validation. Over time, individuals learn to filter praise, questioning whether it is real. That is why, when an authentic compliment finally comes, it pierces through the noise. Its rarity makes it memorable, and its truth makes it transformative. Authentic compliments also have the power to fuel lasting confidence. When someone receives praise that is inflated or false, it creates a fragile foundation. Confidence built on pretense collapses the moment circumstances change or approval fades. But when confidence is built on authenticity, it endures. If someone hears, I admire the way you never give up when things get tough, they can carry that truth into future struggles. Authentic words validate something that exists within, not something that depends on external conditions. The strength of authenticity is also reflected in the way it deepens trust. Trust is not built by perfection, it is built by honesty. People respect those who speak truth even when it is simple or understated. Authentic compliments foster trust because they assure others that words will not be used carelessly or manipulatively. A person who receives a sincere compliment knows it is real, and that assurance strengthens bonds. Authenticity is also an act of courage. It is easier to say what others expect to hear, to hide behind polite flattery, or to deliver words that serve personal interests. Authenticity, however, requires honesty without disguise. It requires speaking truth even if it is not grand or immediately rewarding. This courage makes authenticity magnetic. People are drawn to those who are willing to be real, because realness is refreshing in a world dominated by pretense. In leadership, authenticity creates cultures where people feel safe and valued. A leader who offers authentic compliments builds loyalty because their words are trusted. In relationships, authenticity creates intimacy. Words that are sincere bridge emotional distance and create a sense of security. Even in brief interactions, authenticity leaves a mark. A stranger's genuine compliment can uplift a day, not because it was elaborate, but because it was real. Authenticity is rare currency because it cannot be faked. People instinctively sense whether words are genuine. The impact of authenticity is not in the length of the compliment, but in the integrity behind it. Pretense fades quickly, but authenticity echoes. It reinforces worth, fuels confidence, and strengthens trust. Its rarity is what makes it powerful, and its sincerity is what makes it unforgettable.